You know what it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established. Let's go.
This is the Get Established Show Live, where we're all about awareness and support of our community, building within and beyond. My name is Shine, and I'm here with my brother, Chilla, D. Jones. Please like, share, and subscribe, and smash that like button for our up and coming shows. A link will be provided in the chat if you want to join in the conversation or comment in the chat. All right, let's get it. All right, as we always say before, the individual opinions expressed on here do not reflect the show as a whole and the goal of joining in and supporting our community. With that said, D. Jones,
What's up?
you have
What
it,
it
bro.
is, man? How's everybody going? I mean, doing? How was your weekend so far?
It's good so far. Good so far on this Sunday evening. Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Chilla, what's going on with you?
Nah, man, just relaxing, man. That's all. Ain't much going on.
Ain't much going on.
No, ain't much going on.
Hey, man, it's been a lot going on, really. Yeah, a
A
lot
lot,
going on. But
yes.
here, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the show. The purpose of this show is to discuss the movie Sinners and how it relates to society today. With that being said, let's jump right into it. How does Sinners portray the struggle within the African American culture?
All right. Well, I'll say that let's just start from the beginning, just to set the scene where you have the men and women that are working out on the fields and stuff like that. So you're dealing with a society that around Jim Crow time where all the rights of getting the 40 acres and a mule were taken away, and then the workers had to go back to the fields in order for the make a living. So that's just one of the things that I looked at.
You know what, man? It was a scene in the movie that I just thought about. That kind of took me back to a show that we had when we was discussing, how black people allow other cultures to come in and conduct business. And I just thought about this while you were talking. It was interesting enough. There was an Asian store in the city that one of the twins went to purchase food, and across the street they were operating another store. He actually purchased a sign for the juke joint from there, and it was interesting that they chose an Asian couple to portray the owners of that store. But to me, that signified different cultures that operate business in the black community. What do you think
But
about that, Chilla?
what I know the Asian couple you talking about that was Grace and her husband. Store that they sold to the blacks, and if you paid attention, because the daughter was in across the street, it was another store that I think they sold to the whites. So like Asians had two different
Okay.
stores at that time. So they was real friends with the twins, Stack and Smoke. So they really knew, and so they always transitioned and did business together. But it's like that's always been something doing in history, because I was like doing research on it. And it's like when we were doing the emancipation, a lot of Chinese people kind of benefited coming over to this land off of the struggles of us, and they had got opportunities, and their only thing were to open businesses and sell to either us or the white people. And they flourish with stores and stuff like that because they brought in their materials and their supplies. And most times they open up in black neighborhoods, and that's how they became successful by giving us goods. Just like when Stack needed, when Smoke needed a sign and he needed the fish, and they gave him everything. If you paid attention, that's the store that Smoke went to get all the supplies for the juke joint they was getting ready to do the grand opening for.
And that's crazy because you're right, Chris. The wife had to come across the street to communicate the price for the sign. Like you said, they were operating two different stores, one for the black culture, one for the Caucasian culture. And she walked across the street because the husband called for her to come over there to negotiate the price for the sign. That you're absolutely right about that. Um, Also, the interesting thing was in that same scene, there were a couple of blacks that were trying to steal from the truck that he was in.
Mm.
And that's very interesting. Like, okay, this symbolizes we'll steal from our own people before we'll steal from somebody outside of our culture. That's crazy. And I know times were different, and you get caught, especially stealing from white people back then. You'll get sentenced to death, or it get hung in that moment. But I just thought it was interesting how a black man pulls up with a truck. You see it, and now you're trying to steal from it.
Well, let's take it to the condition of the certain type people. If you got people that's not fortunate to have things or don't have enough money and see something they desire, or even if they're hungry, if you ain't eating 3 4 days and you see an apple and your only means and it's sitting right there, you might take your chance of snatching that apple just to put some nourishment in your stomach. Everybody ain't rich. I guess if they were filthy rich, would they think looking in that back of that and see like if you paid attention in the movie when Smoke got out, he asked a girl that she wanted to make some money. Then he took time out training her how to negotiate. Don't just go for a price, negotiate. Make a good. Because if you paid attention to the Chinese lady, Grace, when he came over with the sign, they negotiate on the
Yeah,
price of the sign. So he was training
absolutely.
the young lady how to, negotiate, and basically just told her to see if anybody mess with my car, beat the horn, because he knew he had a lot of goods in there that somebody wanted to snatch. So while he was in the store, think, she started, she hit the horn. She told him basically who it was, because back then, and it's funny because even when we were growing up, a name carried a lot of value. If you was like, oh, that's such and such people, or they such and such, or that's such and such brother. If you had a name, your name uh, gave you like reputation around the streets and stuff. And there, back in them days, they had a name because if you listen to the movie, they were working for Al Capone and they came back home because they was in Chicago. And they was like, they didn't really initiate what they was doing for Al Capone, but they worked for Al Capone. And 7 years later, they coming back home. But even before they left to go work for Al Capone, they had a name in the streets. Because even when he shot him, he ain't try to kill him. He shot him in the tail. And he was like, I ain't know it was you. I ain't know you were back. I thought it was a joke. But he shot the other dude because he said, man, I can't let you walk away from here and you spread the rumor that you tried to rob me and ain't got no consequences and no scars
Yeah,
from trying to touch my stuff. So he shot the man in the leg because he
that's
said
off
that
his
off his
base.
reputation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me add on to where Stack dealt with the white dude about buying the bond. You know what I mean? Because that's another representation of that we didn't own anything, and we had to go to them to get something in order to have something. So I mean that represented that, and the shaky dealing between them two is how how he warned him after they did the deal. Is like, okay, well, hey, if y'all any one of y'all come back over here, you know y'all gonna he gonna lay everybody down.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
that was I was just gonna say that was a good part when they had bought because when they came back, like Raymond was saying, they came back from Chicago. In their mind, they were gonna go ahead and start a juke joint, so they had bought the thing, but unwillingly they had an idea. They didn't know that they purchased this from the Grand Wizard, who was a Klan. So he took that bag of money, but they had bought that building. That was a very interesting part of the movie that leads to another scene in the movie later.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of symbolizes some of the same things that are going on now, where we have to a lot of times go outside of our community to regain some resources. A lot of times, you know, we have to move to different neighborhoods to feel safer, or send our kids to different schools to feel like they can get educated, or take certain jobs to feel like we meet the status quo. And that's what I got out of it. Understanding that he did purchase that to create a juke joint for his people. He still had to reach out outside of his community to make that happen. And I understand the
Right.
resources are limited, but we're still dealing with that. Resources are still limited in our communities. So yeah, I get that. I get that. I think also I want to revisit when he shot the two gentlemen that were stealing from his truck. It was interesting, like you said, he made sure he shot the one guy in the knee, um, because he couldn't let him leave without some type of consequences, because that would make him look bad. But not only did he shoot him, he took the time to spend the money to make sure that they got the proper help that they needed from the bullet wound.
I mean,
I thought that was interesting.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
I guess
That's crazy.
if you gonna shoot me, I guess it would be nice if you make
Might
sure I
want to pay
get
for my medical bills. Yeah.
looked out for. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, but then again, who did he tell patch him up? The Asian couple again, Grace and her husband.
Oh,
Go
absolutely.
ahead
Make
and
sure, make sure, make sure you
patch them
patch
up.
them
Yeah,
up.
make sure they good. You know, what I'm saying? Yeah. So he let them know. You know, boom, we shot both of them. He ain't try to kill them. He just wanted them to have a scar to remember the situation.
mm,
What I thought was cool
That
though,
was-
in the process of getting ready to open the juke joint, he did his rounds to meet up with people that he was already involved with prior to him going to
Chicago.
Chicago to employ them for the juke joint. I thought that was pretty cool. Employing people that he already know, meaning reaching back and pulling people up. And that's what I got out of that. Not just dealing with, okay, here's a musician here, here's a security person here. I'm gonna deal with people that I know, and I know that they need the money, so I'm gonna reach back and pull them up. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, they also, explored, in my opinion, explored uh, like interracial dating. Even though the young lady that played
Mar-
Stack's uh, ex girlfriend or
Mary.
girlfriend, Mary,
Murray.
um, yeah, she what was it? Her father was
Yeah,
black. Her
Out the
great,
her
yeah,
half
room.
black. What was
She
half
out the
black?
room.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
she was
I
mixed. She was a
mean,
mix. Yeah.
She
yeah,
like
she was a mix,
one
but
eighth or something like that. Black.
yeah, but
Just
it was
don't you don't
interesting
see it in the
because
physical features, but she has it in the you know, in
But
the blood.
I want to just
go
say
ahead,
this.
Chris.
I want to give big ups to Michael B. Jordan because he played two twins, and to distinguish both of them was a little different. One was level headed, and one was like off wild, like the one that was level headed, feel like he always had to be around him to watch his back because he was always careless. But just to see him play two different twins that had two different personalities. That's what I said. He made it real good just watching them because you could see that it was two different people that he was playing
I
as a
mean,
twin.
there's a lot of um a lot of things you can infer from that. You can infer that because Stat wore red and Smoke wore blue.
Blue,
You
yeah.
can look at it as Democrat, Republican, Bloods, Crips, good, evil. You know what I'm saying? And but I think it's a whole different look at how the two dynamic different personalities play within how they treated people. You know what I'm saying? Um, where Smoke was the no nonsense person, where he just was like, hey, look, this is what it is. Stat was more of the okay, well, hey, I'm gonna deal with you. I'm gonna work with you, but yet I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to do it a way to try to get it. I'm trying to get that money by any means necessary. You know, just the different dynamics between the two. I thought it was interesting how he played that off.
Yeah, and that I like that you brought that point up because actually once the juke joint opened, um, apparently in that area for the black sharecroppers, there were two different currencies that were being used, and I know Smoke had an issue with taking the wooden coins
Yeah,
and because he felt like, hey, we in business to make money. But the sharecroppers, this was money that they were able to use amongst themselves and to purchase, I guess, certain things in
yeah,
town. But it wasn't any good to Smoke, and that was a
yeah,
big issue. But
yeah,
Mary
yeah. Murray
uh, and Stacks were
Stacks,
trying to
yeah,
tell him,
Murray and
yeah,
Stacks, like they work hard all day for this, man. They just wanted to come out and enjoy themselves, man. Sometimes you got to build up, the business by just giving a little bit to the people, and then they'll come back. But that's all they were trying to say, Stacks and Murray.
All right, let's
and I
and
think
let's
that could symbolize some of the price gouging that goes on with black businesses in the black community with certain things.
uh,
Like we can't make $1 million off one customer. That's just not going to happen. And I thought about that when I saw that scene. Go ahead, Sean.
no, I was gonna say I was gonna take it back a little bit earlier where Smoke went back and got and seen and visited his parents' grave, and then he talked to his ex-wife Ann, and how he was gonna offer her money because she said he owed her,
Yeah,
and he pulled out the money, regular, U.S. currency, and she was like, "Nah, I don't deal with that type of money because that's blood money," you know, symbolizing her distinct difference from how she views the world or the country, and how that the other side lived as opposed to how she lived and how they dealt the way with currency or whatever in their community. And I like I said, I think that's she's an interesting character too. I think our boy Chilla gonna have a lot
I
to
mean,
blow on her.
yeah, I mean, and even though that was Smoke's wife, Ann was like into not even into, that's what she was. She, like, we call it hoodoo. She was more like a spiritual person who that's what she practiced. And back then a lot of what you call natives or indigenous people or whatever you want to call yourself, that's what they were. It was hoodoo. And it was no witchcraft. It was nothing of that. She did more spiritual guidance and did things the ancestral way. She also was into herbs and healing people. And the funny thing is, in the movie, she made Smoke, which was her husband, a charm. We'll call it, but it was called a mojo thing with herbs in it to protect him. So when he left to go to Chicago, she made him a mojo, like a necklace, or like me, I wear like a tumbling, like I wear a stone for negativity and protection. But she made him a mojo bag, which protected him. And then you notice when she came back, the first thing was she changed the herbs in him and put it back on him. And he, did that. So when they were talking, she was putting the protection on him, and that's a vital part of the movie
Mm.
because he always wore this protection. So if you haven't seen the movie or you watch the movie, you know at a certain part what happened when he took it off. But like I say, he always wore that, and a lot of spiritual people today, we wear that. Some people symbolize where they cross with protection. Some people wear different things, but our ancestors, we wore things to protect us, the children, and the family. But yeah, and she was a spiritual person, and she practiced stuff like that. But the reason I say that is because now we got other cultures who teach us to disconnect from our ancestors and always talking about that's voodoo or that's wicked, that's the devil. And the funny thing, like back then we had root doctors, even back in the 1800s and early 1900s. They sold medicine that healed the master, even when doing slavery, healed everybody. And we got talked about like it was wicked. But then you had certain individuals who were white was going around selling snake oil, and they were putting on shows. They was like there 1 minute they acting like entertaining, they preaching, and then they acting like a doctor, and all they doing is giving you snake oil. And a lot of times it wasn't even doing anything for people, but they put on a show. The first thing they did was entertain the people. Then they came there preaching like a regular preacher, and then they came there talking about illnesses and medicine, and then they would give you snake oil, as well as it'd be somebody in the crowd who's faking like they was sick, and they took it and they was healed. And that still goes on in a lot of arenas today. Some goes on in arenas we call churches, the same thing. But that was just one point of thing in history that's been going on forever.
Yeah, I want to touch on Anne too. Throughout the movie, Anne was like a confidant for Smoke, also.
She was, man, look,
And it
I'm gonna say this
represented
right here.
like
If it
his
weren't for
strength.
her, if it weren't for her, she was a vital part because she was the warning of everything. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like she was like a confidant for Smoke, and it represented how important the black woman is to the black man. She had his back. She paid attention to everything, and she advised him through a lot of things. She was the one that picked up on what was going on at the club as far as when Evil tried to enter the club, and I know we'll touch on that in a moment. But he paid attention to what he said, and he trusted her, and you could tell that he trusted her.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I know we like I said we jumped in talking about the movie, and just basically the movie is about these two characters, Smoke and Stack, who come back to their home, and they want to decide to start up a juke joint, and to try to bring back something to the community and give the folks something to have of their own. So with that, it's it was a lot of things that come up. They pick up their cousins, and find out that he's very talented in playing the guitar and sing. So with that is a big you know thing about trying to capture his essence and trying to build on that through the uh, the antagonist, which is I forgot his name, but I know uh,
Which one?
Remick, you know,
You
and
talking
I was just talking about the guy that was the vampire, the main
Oh yeah,
vampire,
Remy. Yeah,
you
his name
know.
was Remy.
Um, I know y'all can piggyback off me because I know some of them, I don't know, I can't remember everybody's actual names, but I know
Well,
of course Michael
let's
B.
go back
Jordan.
and talk. Let's go back and talk about Remick since you brought him up. An
Okay.
interesting scene when Remick first came on the scene in the movie. He was running from someone, and his body, he jumped down on the ground, was running, and his body was kind of smoking. And he
But
ran up to this household and was trying to convince these individuals, these Caucasian individuals, to let him in um, because he was running from someone. And that was an interesting scene because the individuals he was running from were Native Americans.
they were the Choctaw Indians. He was running from the Choctaws. They was chasing them down.
And
So I mean,
they were chasing them down, and they showed up at the house, and they were trying to explain to the lady at the time. She was holding a pistol to the Indian's face, trying to explain to them they were in grave danger if they let this individual in the home.
yeah.
And she wasn't trying to hear it. She was not trying to hear it. Go ahead, Chris.
But the big thing on that whole scene that remember when he ran up to them, he asked them could he enter,
Oh
and
yeah.
he as well as he gave them what some gold, this type gold, and as you learn the character about Remick, you start to realize that he's Irish. So he's an Irish character that's in the movie, but he's a vampire at the same time. But yeah, his name is Remick. It's very interesting, and the thing I say what's so interesting about it, I kind of didn't want to get into that part right now, but is that the part he couldn't be come in to their dwelling unless he was what welcome
Invited.
in. And
Yeah.
when I watched that, And I watched later in the scene of the movie the same scenario kept happening. It kind of blew my mind because me and Raymond watch a show called From with old boy, you know. And the funny thing, they got these medallions at the door, they can't
Hmm.
get in. But the only way they can come in your house, you got to what? Welcome them in. They always, I can't know. And you got to let, they got to ask you permission to come in. And what made that movie that like, that subliminal to me was so powerful is because, dang, you think about it, in front of your door, you got a welcome mat. In front of everything on your door, you got welcome. It's like you don't know what you're inviting into your dwelling when you're trying to protect your dwelling. Because a lot of us invite evil into our situation or into our lives. Even the character or individual you dealing with on a day-to-day basis, you don't know their mindset or what's going on demonic or killing or murdering or raping. But when you invite the evil around you or in you, in your circle or into your house or anything, a lot of times these evils that come to us, we welcome them into our situations.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean that takes place whether it's an individual in person or it could be social media. It could be a lot of different things. But like you said, Chris, what I received from that message was you have to invite evil into your life. And looking at now and what's going on nowadays, you see it all the time. Whether it's toxicity with friends, whether it's toxicity in relationships, we don't pay attention because everything's all good on the first interaction. You seeing this person and they're being the person they need to be to enter your life or to enter your situation. And then once they're in, once you invite them in per se, everything changes. And a lot of times you put yourself in danger based on what you invite in your life. Anyway, let me ask y'all this. In what way did the character's choice reflect the influence of internal culture or pressure? Or societal pressure, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna just say this: at the beginning of the movie, preacher boy Sammy, uh, his character, you know, the one that was the guitar playing, singing the blues. Because we didn't even mention, you know, when him and Stat went out and they met Delta Slim. You know, he was the one with a harmonica for the juke place. But at the beginning, just going back to preacher boy Sammy, his dad basically told him if you go out there, was he? You keep the double going, you keep looking for the double, you're gonna find your son in that nature. And that was a at a church. That was a big point of seeing somebody warning you before you even go out there. It's like his dad maybe had a spiritual understanding what was his son getting ready to be involved with, dealing with his two cousins that was stacking smoke and going out there because he wanted to play that music and sing that blues. He went through events, turmoil, and we just mentioned something even when the first sign to me, but each one of us took account of different when they went to the back of the truck and we were talking about the rattlesnake was back there, and the rattlesnake was a sign to me, maybe to Sammy, that this something ain't right. But we all got a intake of what we thought that rattlesnake was. But the characters, just watching Smokey, two brothers trying to open a business. Even we watching Cornbread, which one of them picked up and convinced Cornbread to go with them. He's out there picking in the fields, trying to make a living with his family, picking up stuff. You got Delta Slim that's sitting at a train station, is playing this harmonica. That's his hustle, playing the harmonica, making trying to make a hustle, and that's his living, playing this harmonica and people dropping coins. That's his section. So you looking at people, and then you, like you said, we looking at Grace and her husband, which is we say Oriental or Asian. They're doing their things. Everybody in this movie, like from what we watching, other than smoking them, everybody else was like in the in the cotton field, working, doing what they had to do, pick cotton to get their wages so they could survive or feed their
Well,
family.
well, to build on
let
that,
me let me let me let
oh,
me
go ahead.
jump in if you don't mind. Um, I'll say one external influence is the church and
Yeah.
how the religion that they adopted, how that was an influence in the culture. Um, Going back to like with like I was talking about Smoke and the money. That's a influence of the culture. The monetary system. How we gotten trapped into that system, or we've got influenced by that system. Just how we it's just pretty much basically a lot of how what we've been talking about, just the how we have to go to certain individuals in the culture, how of how we deal with being deal with them, just like you talking about cornbread, he working in the field and stuff like that, how we've been influenced in that type of work, the manual labor work during those times in order to survive. We can't have our own situations, our own businesses and stuff like that. We have to pretty much live based off of how they feel that we should live in their system.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Just to go back uh, to what Chris was talking about, I just feel like uh, there were a lot of things that took place that touched on things that we're dealing with today. Um, if you look at like what was going on in the juke joint, like when they were playing the music, they went through the different eras of music
Mm.
and how it was played. Uh, First the guitar, the DJ booth, and then they went over the different sounds, how people interacted versus how they danced back then, how they danced in the 80s, and then how they're dancing now. Just moving through how different cultures did different things. And it made me think about, like, I know we look at our youth sometimes and we're judgmental, but if you look back, it's always been the elders always looking at how the youth handles things, and they always have had something to say that was pretty judgmental because we look back. I look back at the things we did. Our parents didn't necessarily agree with the way we danced or the music we listened to or the clothes we wore, and we're basically doing the same thing now. And the movie kind of touched on that. Like, you went from the dances back then to the break dancing in the 80s to the twerking now,
Yeah.
and it just went through the whole thing. And we kind of, I know as older people, sometimes we kind of frown on different things, but if you think about it, this has always kind of been a part of our culture. It just looks a little different because everything evolves. And I just thought that was an interesting part how they were going back and forth with that. And then not only that, um, they touched on the ancestry piece of how the drums and the dances that they did, the
Right.
African dances that they did. I thought that was pretty dope. Also,
Yeah, I think
they just go ahead.
no, I was saying it felt like it showed you the evolution of how the music um, progresses through time. You know what I mean? Like I said, one person, like I was looking at in a review, they said it's like a conjuring of spirits, like spirits from the past and the present and then the future. You know what I mean? It showed just a mixture of, like I said, the mixture of cultures and how we all, even our music, how it influences every other culture and how those cultures intermix and interact with us in those same in different types of music genres, and just how we impact one another. You know.
So let me ask you this, Chris. I know you probably are waiting to get to this point.
Hmm.
What was your thought about the interaction between Cornbread, Smoke, and what was the name, Reddick?
What you mean, the interaction
When
of
they
them?
walked up and they were trying to get in the juke joint.
I didn't when I first watched because I don't watch them a couple of times. So with this, I didn't know what to think on the first because the interaction is like it would had to be Smoke because Smoke mind was like, yo, he didn't want them to come in because Even when you talk to him, like, he was saying, I don't know, was his brother? Why ain't let him in? He was like, man, what's gonna happen if he somebody step on their feet, or somebody look at the woman, or the woman get touched? And how you think what's gonna happen? Because if people don't know Remy, he's white, but he's Irish, and he had these other two white people with him, and Smoke wouldn't let him into the club because they, like I said, he couldn't just walk in. They have to ask permission to come in. So when they came there, uh, Cornbread like go get the twins, and he won't gonna let them in. So when he started talking to Smoke, Smoke looking at him like, what you mean? And they playing what type some they playing what's the music they were playing, Raymond, in the movie?
Oh, I mean, I guess it was some type of
Gambo or
Irish
something. They some
folk
Irish
music.
music. Yeah, they were playing it. I mean, it was kind of rocking, but they were jamming it. But they were like, nah,
Hmm.
go up to one of the white, find one of the white establishes basically and go in there. But they were so adamant on coming in there, and they were like, well, we'll just walk away slow. They even tried to pay him some money to come in, and my mind on that was like, yo, don't let him in because you don't know where the intensity get ready to happen because you already know this is evil coming to the place. But Smoke was like, kind of like, nah, we don't want you in here, man.
And did
But
you
see
see
this,
Ann's face when that took
but
place? Did you see her face? How
Yeah,
but
Ann
cause
was looking?
she trying to figure out what's what. But see, in my mind, I think Smoke was trying to fill them out like this the Klan or something trying to come in here and start something. Because I think that was his mindset. The way I'm looking at the movie and taking it, because he already told the when they bought the club, if I see one Klansmen over here, they gonna lay where they stand. If I see one of them on when he purchased the property, if I see them on this property, they gonna lay where they stand, and
but
that's when Smoke started off. So now when he see these three white individuals, I guess he trying to test to see who they were. But the funny thing about it, too, is not even knowing who they were. One of them was one of the clans people. Really, that they was the clans for one of them, where the couple
No, no,
was.
but
I get that, but go ahead, Sean. I
no,
want
what
to
I
touch on
was gonna
something else, but go ahead.
what I was gonna say because I know that the big underlying theme about that is how we as a culture are real inviting to every other culture that is out there. You know what I mean? How we allow ourselves to be be friendly and welcoming to people so that they'll know that, hey, look, this is a place of you can come in and you can you can vibe with us. You can learn from us. You can you know benefit from our what we give out freely is which is our which is our culture, which is it could be a double-edged sword with that, but with that I, with the Irish part, like I said, from a personal perspective of learning that, like I said, an Irish family took in my my great great grandfather, you know, and that's how I got, like I said, that's how I got the name, my last name. So it's like it's a I mean, it's a interchangeable thing, but it's like it's a. I think that's what people of other cultures. I guess they don't look at it as how we're so inviting. We're so well, like just like with having the Asian people along with us, having the girl married with us that she was, what I mean, just all different cultures. We're always the one that's warm, welcoming, and warm to other people.
I mean, but it hasn't really worked in our favor a whole lot. So I
Man,
mean, if you
I
think
ain't say
about
I ain't say it was
throughout
positive, but
history,
negative.
no, no, that is true. Now I want to touch on this before I forget. Like after that scene, the conversation between Stax and Mary took place, and where Stax wanted her to basically go out there and figure out what was going on with these individuals. So I mean, it was kind of like he was sending her out to the wolves,
It
you
it
know.
won't. I don't. When I think it won't really like that. It was like they came to an understanding that they were just trying to get some finances right because they realized in a summer situation they were going to take a loss. So Murray kind of heard that and she figured out the whole thing why they came back with Chicago. So she was like, I could go out there because she knows she fair skinned, look white when she's mixed. But even though feel that she's black, she can pass for white, and she was gonna go out there and mingle with them And Stats gave her the gun. Okay, just go out there because she's kind of like a ride or die in a way for him.
Hmm.
But he gives her the gun, so she go to the gun. So she just want to go out there to see what they talking about. Cause see, Stacks is on that money. I want that, see what we can get out there. And she went out there unwilling, not knowing it was vampires. You know what I'm saying? So that's how that kind of got crossed up.
We
Yeah.
really haven't touched on the cousin. Really,
Sam.
I
Oh, you
mean,
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
Preacher Boy
Sammy.
Sammy?
Sammy
Sam.
played a pivotal role
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah,
And we really hadn't talked enough about him. We did talk about how he was son of a preacher. They call him Preacher Boy. And he was talented as far as singing and playing the guitar. But he had some scenes also that, I think about. Like, you remember he was flirting with the married woman.
yeah.
Remember?
Did a lot
That's
more
when
than
he.
flirting.
Yeah.
Well,
No, the
yeah,
scene he talking about when he first started at the train
I
station
got you.
when they
yeah,
met
that's what
Delta
I'm talking
Slim.
about at the
See,
train station.
he was flirting with the he was her name was I think if I'm not mistaken it was
Pearline.
Pearline. He was flirting with Pearline.
Yeah, and it escalated at the juke joint.
Yeah,
I think she was
it's
really
past escalated.
well. What I mean is he was flirting with her, but after he actually performed, it was like that did something to
Yeah,
her.
but see again, if you pay attention to the movie and you hear what what Remy was saying, the vampire, uh, Sammy had a gift. He had a
Right.
way of connecting with the music, and a lot of people got gift. Just like some of the greats we call greats who died, they had a gift with the music. He had a gift that he could reach out to the ancestors and every channel through the music. People could feel him when he was singing the blues. He had a gift with that music.
Yeah. See, Sammy he was dipping between two worlds. You know what I mean? Going on the if we want to talk the if we want to talk biblical or churchy, he was on he went to the carnal side. You know, because in the beginning of the movie it showed him going back to the church like the prodigal son, saying, "Hey, look,
Yeah,
I done been through hell and high water now, so now I'm coming back and I'm fighting myself in whether I want to stay out there or come back home to what I
Yeah, and
know."
we're gonna deal with that in a minute. That was a pivotal scene in the movie, but I want to go back to the scene with Mary going out talking to the vampires.
Okay.
Now, we already discussed this. Mary came back, and she had to ask permission to enter the juke joint. Cornbread didn't think nothing about it
yeah,
because he didn't even realize she was out there.
yeah.
So he basically told her to come on in. And she came in, and the first person she targeted was Stacks.
What? Oh, you talking about when she after she came back? Yeah, yeah,
After
yeah,
she
yeah.
had
Yeah.
came back,
Hmm.
yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Cause see
yeah,
that's because her relationship with him is more intimate and closer. So she know that she could you know get to him and wear him down because he professed to her when they was at the train station that he loved her.
well, he professed that actually at the juke joint, at the
Yeah,
train
Oh,
station,
excuse
at
me,
the
as a
juke
Jew
joint.
joint.
yeah.
Yeah,
I stand corrected.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He professed that, and she used that against him. She
Yeah.
used that against him.
I, it's kind of hard for
Go
me to
ahead.
take that possession like that because you could see how she cried. She really loved that man. They had feelings for each other, but the reason Stacks tried to stay away from her because she was so pale skinned, she looked white that he didn't want her to be around the blacks because the white people might have felt a certain way if they found out that really she was black. So he wanted her to portray this role like she was white. So in his mind, he was protecting because he confessed that right there to her. He told her, if I find out anybody do something to you, me and my brother gonna come back and murder. He said, cause I love you. He told him straight up, I love you. I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. So that was his way of protecting her. Because he said
But
that right there too.
but he explained to her he didn't feel like he could be with her. I get all that. I
Right.
Yeah,
get all that.
yeah,
Right.
I get all that. So Mary enticed him to
Exactly.
have sexual encounters,
yeah.
and that's when she bit him. uh, Smoke comes in and sees his brother dying in front of his face, and that scene right there. I mean, they were so close. You just saw the pain in
Yeah,
Smoke's face, just to
yeah,
see his brother lying there dying.
and yeah, that's I think that's when it gets real in the whole scene right after
Well,
that.
I mean, it broke up the the s- I want to say it in a simple way, but it's a symbiotic relationship they have, which is they join together, you
Like
know.
semi twins, they always together with
Right. See,
everything.
Stack. I mean, excuse me. Smoke had the Tourette's or whatever it was to make his hand shake, and
Yeah,
Smoke was. I mean,
Stacks will always
Stack
roll up
was
the
the one that
cigarette
always
for him,
rolled his cigarettes up
cigarettes up
for
for
him.
him. Yeah,
So it was like they needed each other. Like, of course, like I said, where Smoke was the level headed one, Stack was the one that was like always going off and the whatever. He and they needed that
the balance.
relationship.
They balance
Yeah,
each
there you
other
go.
basically.
Exactly. That balance between the two, to balance each other out, which that made the dynamic between them two, so good. I mean, even though I guess even though Sammy was the main, like just like one of the commenters said in the comments that he was the main one in the movie, which is true. It's just how both both of the brothers how they played a role in protecting him and keeping him safe. Just like going back, like you said, like the snake, and how they protect him from that, and how Smoke was telling him, "Hey, look, it was good that it was good you played in here in the beginning, but hey, look, we don't need you in here because this ain't that you ain't about this life. This life ain't for
Yeah,
you. So you need to get up out of here."
yeah. He was like, "This is my last night. You gonna be in the joint, juke joint." He ain't want him to live that tight life.
Well,
Smoke didn't
yeah.
want
I
him.
mean, they try to protect him. They always try to protect him all the way to the end. They try to make sure that he was good. Um, So now Mary has bit Stack,
Smoke stacks. Yeah,
Stack, and
Fact.
now it's jumped off. You know, Smoke shoot Mary. Mary runs out, and now it's on. People realize something ain't right. You know,
and that's when
cornbread
Ann
walk
trying to
up,
figure it out. Yeah. No, but see, let
corn,
them
No,
know Cornbread had left to use the bathroom, which he ain't
mm-hmm.
supposed to because he was the
yeah,
bouncer of the club that night. And Cornbread supposed to be in there, but Cornbread left out. And that Cornbread come back and go ahead, Dirk.
cornbread come back, and he's basically asking them to let him in, and they looking like that don't make no sense. Why you can't just come in? Why you asking us to let you in?
Basically,
And that's when they realize,
That's what Ann is saying. Now
yeah, that's what Ann said.
Ann catch on because see in my Ann mind she think of that they are Hanks. This spirit, this evil spirit called a Hank. So she think they're Hanks at first. So that's
Mm.
why you because she's into like I say the hoodoo and she done heard and know about Hanks and wearing certain stuff and how to wave off Hanks and stuff. That's what she thinking they are at first. So when he keep asking, and he trying to talk to Smoke, Ann said, "No, don't talk to him. Talk to me." So she's basically talking about the cornbread. So why you got to ask to come back in? You've been walking back and forth the whole time coming back in. Why you asking us now to come back in? And see, that was a vital point right there because it like you think about how many people ask to come in your dwelling or can you do that? And we so used to saying you're welcome or welcome in, come on, welcome. Like I said, that welcome mat, man, I'm removing my welcome mat. I don't want no welcome in front of my door at all. I don't want to
Yeah,
invite nothing around me. You know what I'm saying? If you got to ask to enter any dwelling around me, you might get a stake in your heart. Don't come around me
I'm looking at one
at
of the
all.
comments. I'm looking at one of the comments. One of the comments said, "Indoor plumbing could have saved cornbread."
Yeah,
You're
it,
right, though.
it
You're
could have,
right. You're right. Right.
But like I said, he asked that man, could he get back in, and caught on, and she told him to be careful because he was like, "Can I get some money?" Because he asked, said, "Stats, boy, I'm in here. I got a wife." He said, "State, I mean, Smoke was like, that's your problem or whatever. You know what? I don't care." So he was like, "Can I get my money?" And that's when Ann said, "Be careful." As soon as he stuck his hands out with that money, He snatched him out the door, and he almost bit him, but it was like Smoke was so fast, he caught him with one shell, boom, like that, and was getting back. That's when he realized, okay, this is more than just just something. That's when
Hmm.
Ann figured out right then. This is more than just. Basically, she started figuring it out. This is more than just a Hank.
So right there, that scene right there when he tried to pay Cornbread and Cornbread tried to bite him,
Hmm.
money was a part of that situation. And you go back and you think that a lot of people say money is the root of all evil. So in that situation, you think about it right now, in our communities nowadays, people are losing their life over that legal tender, that note, that dollar. And it was a situation right then and there that Smoke could have lost his life trying to give Cornbread money. And Cornbread wasn't even really interested in the money. He was interested in biting Smoke.
Right.
Yeah,
So and to me that was a pivotal moment in the movie. Just the money aspect, as far as in our community. How far will you go for that dollar? What would you do for that dollar? We're out here murdering people. We're out here robbing people. We're out here snitching on people. We're out here doing different things to make sure that we get that dollar.
Hmm.
That Go ahead.
No, I mean that and the fact that we, you know, going back to the music and how Remick wanted to capture Sammy, and how you know how he looked at the possession of his memories, his talents, his essence, how that would, you know, create a way for them to have, you know, what they really wanted was you know, that, and how you know, they wanted to, you know, have the essence of the culture, and the souls of every of all the people, and how, you know, they were shocked when um Smoke killed Ann, and you know, they lost a pivotal part of the community, because, you know, like I said, with her being, you know, having that hoodoo, you know, that hoodoo, you know, type of religion, and how that was, you know, she was able to use the
she was a
knowledge and the
spiritual
wisdom
guide,
that
and
she had
yeah,
to, to keep the community, you know, protected,
yeah.
and you know, and you know, living healthy and well. That's another aspect of it that, you know, that was pivotal to the movie.
And the thing is, like, and it's people out here, and I mean, you could call me. I'm spiritual. I do herbs. I do certain things. It's people out here that like and that helps the community, that can help people. But like I said, it was a great loss in the movie. But for those, if you haven't watched the movie, understand the reason that part happened is because she asked Smoke, if they bite me, please let me die. I don't want to become one of them, because she knew what she was saying. Her soul would never be at rest. She would be trapped for the rest of her life. So
Going back, like you said, kill him,
yeah,
murder.
yeah. Well,
Let's go.
she
Look
wanted
at that
him.
movie.
She wanted him to not to finish her off. So she didn't have to transpire to be caught up, her soul to be caught up in a for eternity in that situation. So that was one of the big pinnacle parts of that. And when that had happened, Smoke. It was kind of hard for Smoke to go through that and do that, but he did it. And he that was a part. And then funny because like his brother and Murray, everybody was like participating for Anne to transform into a vampire, which I think in my mind Smoke would have. I mean, Stats wanted that to happen because he felt like if he was over maybe and Anne had transferred, then his brother would come over because he kept trying to convince his brother to transform and be come back over and to like become one of them. But because of Anne and her wisdom, and telling Smoke everything. And she was the light of the in the end of that movie of everything that was going on. So she kind of protected all of them in some form or fashion. So my brother popped back up here. For those who just seen him disappear, he's back. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
that was a pinnacle point
Let me
because
let
I
me
know we got to get ready, huh?
let me say one thing. I mean, add on one thing because I think it was another interesting thing that we didn't say about the when Sammy was in it was playing in the music and all the genres coming up. One thing I don't think people or maybe not a lot of people looked at was how the roof was
Was
catching
burned.
fire.
Yeah.
What's the
The
song we
roof, the
always
roof, the roof is
yeah
on fire. It was on fire that
yeah I
night.
mean so
They
so
set the
so
roof. There, the music was so jamming so hard. He was so spiritual in the music, touching the ancestors and the future and everybody and all culture. That's how tuned that really Remy heard him. That's why they
mhm.
came there because Sammy was so gifted in the music. They draw the vampires there. That's how good he was with that
Well,
music, jamming that blues that day.
I do want to touch on one thing before we wrap the show.
All right.
I noticed the vampires couldn't enter until somebody welcomed them in. And interesting enough, it wasn't any of us that did it. It was actually the Asian lady that
Yeah,
welcomed
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
vampires in.
but I mean, for those like I'm gonna tell people, I mean, some people might not want to watch it, but I put it like this: if you don't watch Blade, or you don't watch Twilight, or you don't watch anything like Buffy the Vampire, it's not as drastic as some people making it think it's seen it is. A lot of this movie. I mean, it do have some little graphic scenes of like biting, but other than that, it's not really that scary and all that. It's a message. It is a cultural message. It got a lot of subliminals and messages in this movie. Um, but when he was saying about the vampire came in, and when Sammy was jamming the music, a lot of different things were going on with that music. And the vampire felt like if Sammy was part of his club, he could use his gift to help him with what he was trying to do when he was getting the people, as well as he knew he could tune Sammy, and Sammy could reach the minds and do greater stuff with the vampire on the vampire side. So he needed Sammy like a tool. His whole
So,
mission to going there was to get Sammy for real.
so what does that sound like, y'all? That sound like things that are taking place today, whether it's artists, whether it's athletes, whether it's actors or actresses. They use our talents to get their agenda pushed. And when we go against the grain, we're punished. Uh, you know, we can't cover all this in one show. There's a lot to this movie, and we talked about a lot of things. But if you haven't seen Sinners, I recommend that you go see it. There are a lot of messages that come from this movie. I don't even know if we touched half the things um, that the movie entails. I
Well,
actually
we
plan
didn't
to
test the
watch it a few
question
more
much, but
times. Yeah, yeah, we did. We kind of got outside our
but I mean,
questions,
it's
which
good
is
though. It's
cool.
good though. It's good though.
Which
I
is
think
cool.
we.
Which is
Mhm.
cool. But I just feel like this is a movie, especially for the black culture, that people need to see. I think it's very
Exactly.
important that we see this movie, and everybody's gonna take something a little different away. But yeah,
And
I
I'm
just
just
think
gonna
it's
say
one of
this for
those
you:
movies.
be careful who you welcome in your arena, around you, your house, and all. Continue on.
Absolutely. So if you hadn't seen it, I recommend you go see it and support Sinners. Um, with that being said, you know what it is. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Get established.
This has been the Get Established Show Live. Please like, share, subscribe. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube and X. So, with that being said, speaking for our pushing producer and the fellas, peace.